Cool. Now we're good to go. So as I was saying, guys, my name is Emily. I'm the IT specialist in Census Access and lifelong learning. Today we are going to be looking at apps for learning and the different ways that apps can support your studies while you're in UCD. So a couple of things just to note. We do have our chat box, so all recommendations for apps or any feedback if you've tried any of these apps before are really welcome. I always like this session because we do get different kinds of recommendations and people ask questions and chats get going, which is always fun. This is a non-exhaustive list of apps for different elements of college life, and what I'm really hoping is it might give you a wee bit of inspiration in terms of the technology that you might be needing to help you with your studies. So we're going to chat a wee bit about the digital skills that you're going to be using during your degree, and then we're going to look at different areas that I've kind of identified to break up the apps. So we'll look at apps for your assignments, for your studies, and also for your well-being, because that's an important part of college life as well. College isn't just writing essays and going to the library and reading loads of journal articles. You do also need to be sort of taking care of yourself and making sure that you're enjoying your time in college as well. So I'm sure you've all heard the phrase, there's an app for that. The apps that I've picked, I've tried to make sure that they are available on Apple devices, that they're available on Android devices, that they're available on desktop, so you can get the most use out of them. I've also tried to pick apps that are free, so that they're low stakes. You don't have to worry about investing in something and not using it. And what I'll say with all these apps is, for every recommendation that I've made, there's probably 50 other versions of it that just do things in a slightly different way. So don't be afraid to play around and experiment. You don't have to use everything that I recommend in this presentation. It's okay if you don't find the features of an app particularly helpful, or if you only use some of them, as long as it fits into your life and supports you. And don't forget that your phone and your PC have loads of built-in features already. So things like the read aloud software that I'm going to talk about, magnifiers, reminders, and also ways to monitor and restrict your screen time as well. So do have a wee bit of an explore of the devices you already own. So digital skills. What I've got here is basically a list of the most specific technologies that you're going to be using during your degree. So the first one is Office 365. So that's your Microsoft Word, your Excel, your PowerPoint. You hopefully already know this, but the full Office suite is free to download for UCD students. So I've included a download link in this PowerPoint, but you can have Office 365 on up to 5 of your devices. You've then got Brightspace, which is obviously where we are at the moment. That's for your online learning, and that's where your course materials are kept. Some of your classes might be taking place on Zoom at the moment. Zoom is also a great tool for any project work that you might be having, or just getting to know and having a wee chat with your classmates. And hopefully you've also had a chance to attend some college events and clubs and societies via Zoom as well. Gmail. So I suppose my favorite phrase when I'm chatting to students is, please check your UCD account, your UCD Connect account. It works in the same way as a Gmail account. And then SysWeb. So you've probably experienced SysWeb already. That's where your timetable is. That's how you pay your fees. And that's also where you access your past papers for when you're sort of preparing for exams and things like that. Support and assistance. So we're all coming into college with different experiences. Some of you might be tech whiz kids. Some of you might have already worked in industry and are returning to college. Some of you might not have had the likes of a Brightspace or a Moodle in school, so you're getting to grips with that. We're all entering at different levels with different levels of experience, but there are loads of supports in the college to help you. So the first one is UC IT Help Desk. They have training videos and really great guides actually for getting to grips with Office 365. So you might be taking a module that has a lot of Excel work and you haven't really played around on Excel a lot. They have training videos, and they also have remote support. So on campus, there used to be an IT services drop-in, Obviously, with COVID, that's been restricted, but the IT help desk are there still to support you. So if you're having problems connecting to your college Wi-Fi, if your Office 365 download isn't working, do get in touch with the IT help desk. The next resource is the UCD library. So in our office, we sort of talk about the library as the absolute wealth of knowledge for all things referencing. They have great guides for referencing your essays, on learning to use online journals, how to sort of effectively search for online journal articles, EndNote training. And actually, if you're having problems accessing any of your books for your course at the moment, every program or every sort of academic school has a subject librarian, and they might be able to help you access digital copies of your books. So it's well worth getting to grips with the UCD library. In Access and Lifelong Learning, we also have our digital ambassadors. So if any of you have sort of attended the All Welcome, you might have seen our student team. Our ambassadors are Access leaders who are tech whizzes. They have a drop-in on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. via Zoom. There's a query form on our website, but if you're maybe wanting a wee bit of help with uploading your assignments to Brightspace, or if you're wanting to get to grips with PowerPoint or maybe Canva or any sort of tools that you're learning in your programs, our digital ambassadors are students who are more than willing to chat to you about these skills. So my first portion of apps then is to do with apps for college life. So these are apps that might be useful just in helping you get organized and get into your classes. So the first one is the UCD mobile app. And essentially this is all your UCD systems in one place. So your Brightspace, your SysWeb, the library, and UCD Connect. It also has campus services for when we're back on campus. So if you want to book your exercise classes or see what's playing in the UCD cinema, or maps as well. What's really nice about the maps is they have a breakdown of UC buildings, which has saved me many times when I've been trying to find different parts of the science building. They also have wellbeing support. So I'm going to talk about SilverCloud a wee bit later, but they have links to likes of Nightline, which is a really great anonymous listening service for students, which is available during term time from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. And they also have links to the UCD counselling service as well. Next one might seem a wee bit obvious, but it's your Google Suite. So as I said, your UCD Connect account acts as a Gmail account. So it has all those features, and it means you can use the Google apps. So most important one would be your Gmail. So staying up to date with all college correspondence, that'll always be sent to your UCD Connect account. Just a top tip, if you're ever communicating with college services, so whether that's a disability service or your program office, it's a really good idea to use your UC Connect because it means they can find your information a lot easier. Your Google Drive, so some of you might use Microsoft's OneDrive, and that's absolutely fine. Another option is Google Drive. And being a UC student, you actually get unlimited cloud storage. So it's always a good idea to save your documents in more than one place. With Google Drive, you don't have to worry about filling up your PC. It means you can access your documents wherever you are if you're using one of the computer labs instead of your own laptop. And it's really great if you're working on a team project. Some of your documents might be too big to send as email attachments, so instead you can share them with your classmates on Google Drive. The other app that I think I use pretty much every single day without fail is my Google Calendar. And what's great is you can sync that to your SysWeb timetable. So you can have your timetable on your phone. Now just keep that in mind that you need to sync that at the start of each trimester. And if you have any sudden course changes, they might not be on your Google Calendar. So it's always a good idea to stay up to date with your SysWeb as well. So this next app, Focus To Do, loads of variations of this, but it's basically a project planner. So it's a task manager, but what's really nice is it also has a Pomodoro timer. So you might not be familiar with the Pomodoro technique. It's basically a way of sort of planning your study. So you have a 25-minute chunk where you work, and then you have a 5 to 10 minute break. What this does is it means that you really focus in those 25 minutes and you're taking regular breaks, and it sort of supports your concentration. So with Focus To Do, you can actually make project files. So maybe you have an essay that you're working on, and you can break your essay down into tasks. So maybe that includes doing your research for the essay, and you can say, okay, I'm going to do 3 Pomodoro timers to read my journal articles. You can then do another task. So maybe writing your introduction, you can say, okay, I think that's going to take me maybe 4 timers, and you can basically break a project down into manageable little chunks, and you can keep all your different assignments in separate files. And if you're a super duper organized person, you can link that up to the calendar in your phone. You can sync your documents to it, so any notes that you have going with your assignments. And it basically acts as, I suppose, like a big old school ring binder, but in an app. That's available on pretty much all platforms. And what I will say, what's really nice is there's very little difference between the free and premium versions of Focus To Do. Now, a bit more stripped back version of your Pomodoro timer, and as I say, there are hundreds of versions of these, would be the Forest app. And this was actually recommended to me by one of our Access leaders. So what's really nice about the Forest app is it works a wee bit like a video game. So you plant a tree, you set a 25-minute timer, and as long as you leave your phone undisturbed, that tree grows. And the more you use the timer, you can actually build your own little forest, as you can see on the screen. You can earn coins, which you can then use to buy different types of trees, or you can actually use the coins to plant trees around the world. So you're sort of helping the environment and also not using your phone and getting things done. So it's available on Android and as a Chrome extension. It's also available on your iPhone, but it is $2.99. But as I said, there are loads of different versions of this. You can get ones with wee animals and things like that if you prefer that. Apps for assignments, so to help you write your essays and deliver your presentations. So might seem a wee bit of an obvious one, but I've gone for features of your Office 365. So I've picked features of Microsoft Word that you might not be aware of. So the first one is Immersive Reader. And what's really nice about Immersive Reader is you can use it to customize your screen. So if you have difficulty, say, focusing on a white screen, you can change your background color for the entire screen. You can also use things like screen masking. So basically different shapes that block off parts of the text. So if you only want to read one line at a time, you can set it to do that, or you can set it to focus on just one paragraph. It also has a really great read aloud function. I strongly recommend this to you when it comes to proofreading your work. Sometimes if you've been staring at an essay for a really long period of time, you'll start to not be able to see mistakes. So listening back to your work, you can maybe pick up punctuation errors or words that have been repeated that you mightn't see because you've got a bit fatigued staring at the screen. Another tool that I recommend is the dictation function. So I'm sure loads of you send voice notes. I really like the dictation function as a way to kind of break any writer's block you might be having. It's a good way to just get your ideas down quickly on the page, and you can always go back and edit what you've written. So you might be wondering why I've put down Google Docs as well as the Office 365. And the reason is they kind of do different things. So I use both, but I would tend to use Google Docs if I'm working on a project with other people. It's great for collaborative work because you can see the edits happening in real time. 3 or 4 people can kind of be on the same Google Doc working on different portions. You can add in comments if you want things edited, and you can see any changes that are being made really quickly. A nice feature of Google Docs as well is you can download your Google Doc into the file format that you require. So if you need a Word doc, no problem. If maybe you're doing maybe an application for a job, or if you're doing your CV, you can download it as a PDF. And you can also download it as an EPUB if you want to read the material on your Kindle. A feature of Google Docs you might not be aware of is also add-ons. So these are basically like little extensions to customize your Google Docs. So things like if you are doing a maths-based subject and you want a LaTeX editor, an equation editor like MathType, you can download that. If you need to add in your e-signature, you've got DocuSign, you've got PDF editors, and you've also got tools to help you put together a bibliography. at the end of your document as well. Now, I'm sure many of you are familiar with this one, Grammarly. It's available on multiple platforms. So you've got a Chrome extension, which to support you when you're doing your emails. You've got desktop, you've got a plugin for Microsoft Word, and you've also got an add-on for Google Docs as well. So Grammarly is a spelling and grammar checker, but it's more average than it's more accurate than the average spell check. And the reason for that is it uses artificial intelligence. So it looks at the context in which you're writing your words, and it makes recommendations on things like tone and punctuation based on that. There's free and premium versions for students who are registered for disability support for specific learning difficulties. You may be eligible for Grammarly, so do pop us an email. I actually myself use the free version on a daily basis, and it's really improved my emails, and making sure me a bit more aware of my tone when I'm writing. So it's really discreet as well. Doesn't take up too much space on your screen. This one is a feature of Microsoft PowerPoint that you might not be aware of. So you might be asked to do a presentation as one of your assignments, and it's a nice way to rehearse your presentation. Like Grammarly, it also uses artificial intelligence to give you feedback. So as you're delivering your presentation with the Rehearse Coach, it'll tell you if you're using too many filler words, if you're saying a lot, which is something that I do, if you're just reading directly off the slides, or if you're talking too quickly. And at the end of each presentation, it gives you a report, and it tells you maybe there's a part of your PowerPoint that you tend to rush. And it sort of helps you to improve as you work through it. So apps for studying then. This first one I'm really excited about. It's Census Access file conversion. It's a new software we've actually just launched within UCD Access and Lifelong Learning, and it's to encourage everyone in the college community to use accessible documents. So it's free to anyone with a UCD email address. And basically what Census Access does is it converts files into the format that best suits you. So if you are Braille user, if you use Daisy audiobooks, if you require a large print, if you're someone who finds that they prefer to listen to their information rather than reading it, you can get MP3s, and you can also get PDFs. So a context where you might use Census Access is maybe you've got a journal article, you've been sitting at your desk all day, you want to go for your socially distanced walk within your 5K, you might choose to convert it to an MP3 and listen to it that way. Maybe you've been in the library, you've taken a picture of a book that you're not able to borrow. You can convert that picture into a Word document, and then if you need to change the font or if you want to listen to it, no problem, you can use your immersive reader to do that. If you're someone who uses assistive technology, so maybe you use text-to-speech like Natural Reader, and your lecturer keeps giving you scanned PDFs of your books rather than accessible PDFs, you can convert them and use them alongside your software. This is all available on the UCD All website, and I've provided a link to that. Next one is Mercury Reader. So that's a really discrete Chrome extension, and at the moment, with the amount of time that we're spending on screens, it's particularly helpful because it reduces distractions. So maybe you're reading a news article and there's loads of pictures down the side, there's loads of links, maybe you're getting ads. It basically strips back article to be just the words on the screen. Within that, you can then customize it. So maybe you prefer to read white writing on a black background. You can do that. You can also send it to your Kindle. So maybe you want to enlarge your print. You can do that automatically using Mercury Reader. Text-to-speech software. So I've kind of touched on this already. I really encourage you, just with the amount of online learning we're doing, to try accessing your information in different ways. So you might have used Read Aloud before and found that it was really robotic and you kind of hated listening to it. There's loads of softwares out there now and they're getting better every day. So one that a lot of students have recommended to me is Natural Reader. Has hundreds of voices, available as a Chrome extension, also available as desktop software, and also available on mobile. You've got Read and Write, which is really good for if you're writing essays as well. It's the best for Brightspace. And then you've also got Census Access for your MP3s and built-in features on laptops as well. So if you have a MacBook, you have Mac Speech, so you can listen to your text that way if you want to listen to articles or if you're editing your documents. And then apps for well-being. So as I said at the start, it's important that we're all taking care of ourselves while we are studying. So we've just got a couple of wee apps here that you might want to consider. The first one is SilverCloud. So this is available to all UCD students, available via the mobile app, or I've provided a link to access it via desktop. What SilverCloud is a cognitive behavioral therapy course. So CBT is often used to support people when it comes to stress or anxiety and low mood. And SilverCloud is a research-based course that you can do in your own time. It's actually used by the NHS over in the UK as well. And it helps you develop coping strategies for periods of stress or for confronting any kinds of fears or anxieties that you have. Alongside the course, it has an online toolbox that you can access pretty much anytime. It's all entirely secure, so if you want to keep an online journal, SilverCloud has that. It also helps you to track your mood on a daily basis, and it also can help you to develop coping strategies for any anxiety triggers that you might have. Another app that I actually use myself is called Dealio. It's free and it's available on Android and iOS, and it's basically a mood tracker. So you take 5 minutes every day to fill in how you're feeling and what you've got up to that day. I actually started using Dealio because I realized that during lockdown I wasn't doing the activities that I like to do. So I wasn't getting out and going for a walk, I wasn't exercising, I wasn't doing as much reading as I liked. And I realized for my New Year's resolution, I wanted to try and start doing those again. So every day I open the Dealio app, I fill in the things that I've done, I see if I've managed to go for my walk, if I've managed to read a book, and I see how I'm feeling. And it produces data for all of those sort of activities across a week and a month. And it's a nice wee way of sort of developing good habits and taking stock of what's happening. I sometimes say that it's a bit like a journal without the commitment. So if you're not someone who likes to sort of sit down and write a journal, Dealio is that way to still take a wee bit of time and reflect on how you're feeling and have a wee bit of space for yourself. So as I said, I've left a wee bit of time just for any questions. If you want further tips on AT and digital skills, I'd recommend having a look at our Brightspace modules. We have a digital skills workshop up there. If you have any questions that you don't want to put in the chat, I've also just provided my email address as well. But yeah, thank you for listening. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. And just see, did anyone have any questions at all?
I just had one question. You're going to put this up into Brightspace, the lecture?
Yeah, so I'm going to pop it up.
Okay, I'm part of Thoman's Access group. I thought there'd be more of us here. Are we able to share that, or do you need to be signed up for this series of modules?
Yeah, so I'll stop recording just after so I can answer the questions.